Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Rogue Mage, the new Gwent single-player roguelike game. And, well, I'm excited to get back into things. Unfortunately, we're not able to stream Rogue Mage for at least a couple of weeks, as I lost my voice in a pretty nasty way after, recording way too much Rogue Mage and Gwent and Mass Effect and all that stuff. So, let us hop in here. We'll start up a new run. For those of you who are observant and have been watching on YouTube, of our previous runs, then you may be able to figure out how that previous one ended. But we will be starting up with a new one here. And for this time round, I was thinking that we would try out for the first time the, deck archetype that we've not yet used, that being Hive Mind. So let us take a look here. We've done Bulwark twice and one with two separate leaders. Now done Savage Fury twice. And now I think it's time to try this out, right? What's up, Radio Medic? How are you? Good to see you. How have you been? It's been a while. Have you tried a new Rogue Mage yourself? It is a fun game. It is a fun game indeed. Let's take a look at what is in the Hive Mind deck because, we haven't really looked into it much at all thus far. So I think from what I understand, from what the preview said, in fact, hold on, can we get a description here? Embrace the primal purpose of being, to spread and devour. So yeah, that suggests swarm, like get a lot of weak units on the board, like, just focus on quantity over quality. No worries. Well, show you what it's all about. And then devour suggests consumption, which means you are absorbing the power of one of your cards and destroying it in the process, but at times triggering some other effects when you do so. So Germain spawns in cows on either side of him when we play him, which are 1 power units. So this is sort of the swarm. Then we have Hyalmar. Damage an enemy unit by the number of units you control. Oh, okay, so yep. Benefit from having a lot of cards on our side of the board. So this is a finisher. Ethereal. Play him, destroy a unit to the right, then spawn a copy of self on the right. The idea here is that basically if you have, for example, a whole bunch of 1 power cards in a row, you play Ethereal. Ethereal transforms a 1 power card into a copy of himself, making a 4 power card, and then that copy of Ethereal can do the same thing on your next turn, and so on and so forth. So basically, every turn you can transform a 1 power card into a 4 power card for on net 3 points, or you could obviously do it to a 2 power card or a 3 power card as well, although it's slightly less effective in that case. So that's an early card you want to play that again synergizes with spawning in weak units like we can do with Germain. Werecat Thrive, which means it gets boosted whenever we play something higher than it, and it damages all enemy units on the opposite row by 1 when we play it, and then if we get it destroyed, then it will also damage all enemies on the opposite row again. So this is a Death Wish card, and a card that we'd like to target with some of our consumption, or just generally destruction, which is what the Cyclops will do. Destroy an adjacent unit, so like the Werecat, for example, and deal damage equal to its power to an enemy unit. So basically, remove the power of one of your cards, and instead use it for damage. So good for removal, and if you do have a card that you want to destroy, like this Werecat, then you can get that additional value as well. Speaking of consuming cards, that is what the Slizzard does. Rather than converting the power of 1 unit into damage, it absorbs that power for itself and can do that once every turn. Has to be a card in the same row. RP Egg starts off as just a weak little 3 power card, but if it does get destroyed, it turns into a 6 power card, so this is another one that we'd like to destroy. Night Wraith, we've seen some opponents use this before. When we play it, it spawns in 2 1-powered rats, so more of the swarming stuff, and then if it gets destroyed, it spawns in 2 more rats, so again, reason to try to destroy it. No worries, Radio Medic. And we have another one of those. Okay, so that's the general idea, and I think my first impression is that this looks like a really top-heavy deck. Germain is amazing to set up some of these guys, particularly Hyalmar, and Ethereal synergizes really well with Germain. But outside of that, I mean, it's Death Wish and Consumption, but it's not particularly good Death Wish or Consumption. So that seems as though, kind of like what we were saying a little while with the Savage Fury deck, in theory, it's an interesting idea for the type of archetype you're trying to build, but it is very much in need of some quick upgrades. So I think targeting a bunch of normal battles to get some new cards added to the deck so we can get stronger Consumption, stronger Death Wish would be quite useful. Of course, this is all the basic cards. We've not yet looked at a key card. So what if we throw this on, and we see we have two key card options. We have Deadloff Higher Vampire. This is a Death Wish card. So again, that means one that we want to either consume or find another way to destroy it. So when we do that, it will summon itself from your graveyard to the same row. This ability is limited to 4 uses and does not refresh when it leaves the battlefield. So you can do that a total of 4 times. So basically, you just consume it over and over and over again. It keeps on coming back, so it's like a way of continuing to power up a card with 5 additional power. For example, if we were to use a Slizzard, consume that Detloff, next turn, Detloff comes back out, we consume it again, keep on doing that and do that until eventually it uses up its 4 charges. What's up, Nor? How's it going? How are you? How have you been? So we have, Detloff is, I assume, the starting leader that you get, because I remember we unlocked Shawnee a little bit later on. So she plays a unit from our graveyard and can do that again in 3 turns. So I guess the idea with Shawnee would be you get back one of the cards that you consumed. If you consume something big, not as thrilled about that. I feel like that's maybe a little bit harder to synergize with. Like, this is a little more straightforward. Like, we will start with Detloff. I mean, we'll probably end up playing it using Shawnee at some point, right? But let's start with the basics. Let's go Detloff here, and we shall see how we fare here. Now, we need to pick our spells, and once, actually, a lot more than once, many times, in fact, I had said I had some interest in going with a very RNG-centric deck by doing something like Rapid Evolution, because it transforms an ally unit into a random unit. So, total dice roll, no idea what you're going to get in return. However, if, for example, you spawn in a bunch of weak 1 power units, which this deck does a lot of that, with the cows from Germain and the rats from Night Wraith, you convert those into another card, and I mean, it's pretty much guaranteed that you're going to get more than just a 1-power unit. When you do this, you might get something with higher power, you might get something that has another ability that is relevant. So that is intriguing. It's also just 2 energy, which is pretty good. It's pretty cheap. Cheap because you're taking a big chance on it. But so that's, feels like that's pretty memey. So, yeah, I don't know. Part of me wants to do this just totally maximize RNG run, but I'm pretty sure that's it's only going to last so long. It's very unlikely to go all the way and succeed. So maybe we start off by doing a more wholehearted, committed Hive Mind run first, and then once we've had a baseline, once we have a sense of how this deck is supposed to play, then we get silly and we start going all out RNG and what have you. So probably hold off on this, but it is theoretically a decent option nonetheless. Of course, there's Thunder for damage, simple, straightforward. Time Warp, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. For consistency, not sure we are super concerned about that right now. Boost a unit by 3. I mean, also just generally pretty straightforward. Thunderstorm, split damage equal to the number of units on an enemy row randomly between those units, just an alternate version of Thunder. Higher risk, higher reward. If they have more than 3 units, it's better damage. But it's also split across multiple cards, so you don't necessarily know if you're going to be able to remove something, if you have something in particular that just must go. Edict, destroy a damaged unit. We don't have that much damage in this deck. I think that is definitely something for Savage Fury. Not so much for this, because, I mean, where are we getting our damage from? It's pretty much just Hyalmar and Werecat, and having a spell that is relying entirely upon 2 cards feels like that's a pretty big risk. this was the other thing I was thinking for the RNG deck was take Rat Swarm so you can spawn in even more 1-powered cards, and so then you have even more fodder to use as targets for Rapid Evolution. So, I mean, this might make sense in and of itself, even without Rapid Evolution, because, I mean, it's still 4 points. It's not the most... It's usually not a preferable way of getting 4 points because, you know, it's not like you're boosting up a card that has additional value, like a Germain or like a Detloff or what have you. But it does give us more units, which means that is better for Hyalmar. It's better for Ethereal. I mean, it kind of works for Cyclops. It's not as important for other cards, but there are some synergies there, in addition to just being a guaranteed 4 points. Life Bloom gave 3 adjacent units vitality equal to their power. It's really expensive at 6 energy, and I think we are going to have... Well, it's not their base power, just their power. So what's going to happen is, in this deck, we're going to have a lot of cards that start weak, like the Death Wish cards, but then if we consume them, then the consumers are going to absorb that power, and they're going to start to get pretty big. Like, this lizard could potentially get quite huge. So if you throw the vitality on it equal to its power, that could turn into a big number. So there's potentially something to be said there. It's going to be really boom or bust. There are going to be times when it's just 1 vitality, it's not that good. There are going to be times where it's 6 vitality or more, and it feels great. Portal, create a unit, I like it a lot as sort of our go-to high energy option, so I might stick with that. And we did just recently unlock Masterful Thunder. Damage enemy unit by a random amount between 4 and 8. If we destroy it, we deal excess damage to adjacent units. It's basically just a more ambitious version, but more expensive version of the base Thunder. So, I don't know. I think Rat Swarm makes sense. Not sure Cleanse makes that much sense. I think this is basically our alternative. If we need points on our side of the board, rather than boosting our units, we spawn in units. But, I mean, it does work best with Rapid Evolution, it seems. And that's kind of like an alternative to Portal in a way. This creates and plays a unit. This transforms an existing unit. It's much cheaper than Portal, for what it's worth. Where do we go for that? Maybe I mean, yes, this is the fundamental setup that I was thinking we'd use for the RNG run, but maybe we have them, but we don't go all in on that approach right now. So let's try that. We'll go for it. Still like the energy. Now, this is maybe not going to be as energy-centric here, what we're looking for. I don't know. This has served us well, of course. This potion. Move to random bronzes from our deck. I mean, we have some weak bronzes, yes, but it is still a bit of a risk. Don't know which ones we're going to get removed. We still like this lizard, I think, as our key consumer. That's going to be crucially important to set up Detloff. It can technically destroy you with Ethereal as well, but I think this is the more straightforward way to make that happen. And we'd like to have more than one way to combine with our key card, right? So, okay. I think we stick with this. And let's see, this looks new. So, select Curses, Current Novice, Curse of Weakness. Your maximum amount of energy is reduced by a certain amount. You need 25. So it would normally be max 100, right? We usually don't get to 100 anyway. 75 is usually right around where we cap out, so maybe that is fine. I think it's usually 100 cap, right? Curse of Futility. Enemy units start with some armor. Okay, I see. So, yep. As we add in more of these, this syringe fills up with mutagens, okay? That's totally what they are. And depending on how many we have, that dictates what word we see here. Novice, if we have a low number. Apprentice says max, so if we just, like, load up on even more, is it just not even... Yeah, Apprentice is apparently the highest we can go. So maybe we need to win an apprentice run before we're allowed to go on to whatever is next. So I think the Curse of Weakness, we can make that work. I'd rather not have enemies get armor, but then again, if we're not doing much in the way of damage, we did throw on Thunder. So having armor would make it a little bit harder to have Thunder work. I mean, in theory, I was assuming there's still going to be some times where we want to destroy some cards on our opponent's side, so this would still be useful. But what else do we have? Enemies start with 5 additional points. Is an option. Row space reduced? What? No, not with this deck. So there are definitely some things that are going to be more significant for some decks than others. Like, give armor to your enemies if you're not using a damaging deck at all. Like if you're going with Bulwark and not focusing much on your Trident Infantries or Eternian Maulers, then that's not a huge... And Eternian Mauler doesn't really care about it that much. Then this is almost just free improvements here, free challenge points, whatever you want to call them, curses. Whereas against like Savage Fury, where it's all about damage, enemies with armor is not something you want to see. And for us, with this Hive Mind deck, since we're all about swarming the row with as many cards as possible, limiting our row space is very much not something we want to see. Enemy starts with a treasure in their deck. Wow. That's interesting. Curse of Greed, remove the option to skip rewards. Huh. That's interesting. That's kind of cool. It's not often that we do that. But I suppose, what? At the end of a battle? Very occasionally. If we didn't see a card that we'd like to add or remove, then we might have skipped, but it's pretty unusual. I'm thinking more of events. I assume this applies to events as well, where sometimes it's like, well, you can proceed, but it's going to cost you energy, or yeah, usually it's you can get this type of reward, but it's going to cost you energy, or you can just skip it altogether. So that seems like that's the most significant way in which this would affect us. But that's kind of intriguing. I feel like that's not too much of a setback. Start with curses in our deck. I assume those are basically dead cards. Well, there are lots of things we can do here. Wow, okay. Curse of Sloth. Cooldown for Alzur's casting spells is set to... Oh. That's... I mean, against bosses and elite enemies, it's really nice to be able to do that, so we'd like to keep it that way. Battle of Hardship. Standard battles are more difficult. Huh. Standard and elite battles are more difficult. It's not clear how that exactly takes effect. So I'm not sure what to think of that. Curse of Decay, you gain percentage less energy outside of battles. So, like, if you get energy restoring encounters, like Places of Power or the occasional events might do that, then those are less effective. I mean, we have oftentimes leaned pretty heavily on those. Number of rewards to choose from is reduced. We could potentially do that. I would consider it. Curse of Corrosion, maximum upgrade value rewarded units is reduced by 1. Maximum upgrade value? Not entirely sure what this is referring to, but this feels like that's not a bad option. What's up, Steel Wolf? So... Clarifying point. I was never sick, per se. Because I didn't have, like, a virus or anything like that. I recorded too many videos and streamed for too long and strained my voice, so it was of my own doing. And so... I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm feeling a reasonable bit better. I have recorded 3 hours worth of Rogue Mage already today, so for that reason, my voice is still, it's a little bit strained at this point in time. So don't think we'll be having the longest stream ever right now, but obviously good enough to at least be doing our first Rogue Mage stream for a while now. So happy to be back, and good to see you too. And congrats on the N7S stuff for Mass Effect. Let's see. Curse of Poverty, increased treasure chests. The number of treasure chests removed from the map. I mean, they are nice. Having one treasure chest is usually amazing. Second treasure chest at that point, oftentimes, you don't get as much out of that. Let's see. Turns are limited to... Oh, I figured there would be an option to do this at some point in time. it was inevitable that there was going to be an option to do this. In Gwent seasonal mode, in multiplayer Gwent, there is a seasonal event in which you have not 30 seconds, not 20 seconds, not 10 seconds, 8 seconds to take your turn. So I do have some familiarity with this type of process. Crazy as that might sound, for the world's slowest Gwent player in the world, I am somewhat familiar with this. Now, it fundamentally changes the way that I play, of course. But, okay. Map is covered with a fog restricting the view, yes or no? That's kind of fun. I feel like that could, if you're going for the RNG run, oh, you have to do this for the RNG run, right? We aren't going to do it this time, but on a future occasion, maybe it makes sense to make it so that we have not only a totally randomized, or a deck that makes everything randomized, but also we have no idea where we're going, so every encounter is randomized. Oh, thanks, Steelwolf. Well, glad to see that you're having some fun with it, and good to have you on the N7S team. Okay, so which ones of these, now that we've seen them all, which ones sound best? We don't upgrade cards very often. As I assume this means, like, increase the base power of a card. We don't do that very often. Because, like, there's a place of power that can do that. There are some events that can do that, I think. Unless this is referring to the higher base power that you get when you get some new cards from having, like, a white border, a blue border, a purple border, a gold border, which each one has one higher base power than usual. Like, those are nice. So I'd rather not lose that. But if we're talking about weakening those places of power and weakening those events, then I'm fine with that. So, not too averse to that. I think that might be what I want to go for. Also, part of me wants to say, well, this is our first time doing a Hive Mind deck, so we might as well try this out first without any of these inhibitors, these curses, to get a more controlled experiment to you know, test out. How do we like Hive Mind compared to Savage Fury, compared to Bulwark? And if we're starting out Hive Mind with all these curses, then, you know, it's probably going to feel worse than the other decks, but is that because we don't like the deck as much, or is that because we added in all these extra difficulty modifiers? That could be potentially a little harder to distinguish if we jump straight into it. I think we still will, but that is something we'll have to keep in mind as we're, I'm sure, assessing what we think of this archetype compared to the others. So yeah, I think we go double Curse of Corrosion. I'm not 100% certain how exactly this applies, but if... Oh, the other thing was we were thinking, where was... Reduce the number of options. Where was that? Number of rewards to choose from. If we do that. That, I thought, yeah, it got us up to Apprentice just from 1. So then we don't need to do Curse of Corrosion. So yeah, we could either do this once, or we could do 2 rounds of reducing the maximum upgrade value. I think we just don't upgrade cards, basically. I think we try that. And then if we're trying to push to the next level after this one, and we can go whatever is beyond Apprentice, then that's where we might throw in Curse of Hesitation as well. Let's try it. Let's do it. Okay, so it's the fiery dude. Oh. I don't think we have a very good matchup. We absolutely steamrolled that boss the first time we encountered him, because we were using a damage deck, and damage works amazingly well against him. We have very little damage. So that does raise some concern. Just take a quick look at our map here. So obviously we have the first encounter, we'll have that battle. Then we'll have some treasure chests, lots of events. We want to try to avoid upgrading cards, because that is one of the key things that we added the difficulty on, weakening the effects of that. Lots of elite battles. One there, one there, one here, one here. Couldn't do both of those, but that's at least 2. To the chests, about midway through. No, I guess elite battles are just kind of front-loaded. There aren't that many of them. Okay, and I'm curious, given how we have those elite battles, have we looked at what happens if we upgrade Detloff? So, as things currently stand, when he gets destroyed, he summons himself to the same row. So basically, you can destroy him several times over, and he'll keep on coming back. So if you consume him, you absorb that 5 points in another card, and then you still get the 5 points directly from Detloff back on the board. And you can do that 4 times. If you upgrade him, this unit, summon this unit from your graveyard to the same row, increase its own base power by 1. That does not say anything about the limited number of uses either. Does that remain the same here? Or does that actually go away in addition to its base power increasing? Because if so, that is a substantial upgrade. Like one more base power every time we bring it back. If it's still limited to 4 uses, then that's what? 1 extra points the first time, 2 extra points, or actually 1 extra point the second time, 2 extra points the third time, and 3 extra points the fourth time for a total of 6 extra points. Whereas if it's an unlimited number of uses, then that is, like, exponentially better than the original one. Depends still on how many you use, but it scales very well the more consumptions you get. So it looks like we might want to make a point of aggressively targeting these elite battles. But alas, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. We still have our first battle here. Let us see. It's the Beastmaster. And this guy, I think, has a very similar deck to what we have, where he spawns in a bunch of stuff, right? Spawn in a Rabid Warg and an ally row every other turn, and that's just a 2-power unit. Whereas we're going to be more like spawn in a 1-powered card every turn with stuff like Night Wraith. So what we want is to have a nice mixture of flooding our, well, having Death Wish cards and cards that can trigger Death Wish. So we have 1, 2, 3 Death Wish cards. We want to play them, and we want to be able to destroy them. We only have 1 card that can destroy them right now, though, and that is the Cyclops. So it's a little imbalanced right now. We would like to have more ways to destroy these guys. Now, that would mean that we might want to swap one of these out for something that can destroy them, but then again, the Night Wraith spawns in a bunch of rats, and the more units we have on the board, the more powerful Hyalmar becomes, so there is a good synergy here. So I'm reluctant to switch you guys around for that reason. Werecat would normally be more powerful than Night Wraith. So if we're talking about trying to get rid of one of our Death Wish units, this is also not that enticing for that reason. Maybe we just settle for this, to be honest. Maybe we just try this out. Draw to, okay, perfect. This is exactly what we were missing. A solid, consistent way to consume cards every turn. So let us, let's see. I don't remember what else this guy tends to do. Like, how much damage does he run? I think we go, what did we settle on? Thunder, Rat Swarm, and Rapid Evolution. We did end up going for that. Okay. Well, we shall see. We'll play you first. And then next turn, we will play probably a Night Wraith and consume it. We'll get 2 rats immediately, and then we'll get 2 more when we consume it. Which sets up Hyalmar. Yeah, but we need this to stay alive. So yeah, it does get damaged, but I was concerned if this was going to get immediately destroyed, and we didn't have a way to boost it. It's not immediately. That's more ways to destroy cards, so now suddenly things are much more balanced. So let's do this. It spawns in 2 rats, and then when we consume it, that means we lose the 3 points. Well, we're reallocating, really, the 3 points on this card onto this card that does the consumption, and then we trigger this Death Wish when it gets destroyed. So we want to destroy it, because that means we spawn in 2 more rats. And that means we're still adding to our total number of units, and that's why having something like Rapid Evolution to transform a weak card into a much stronger card. We're going to have a lot of these weak cards. That's why it makes some sense to have something like that. Okay. Vitality.
Get him, Wojtek!
4 boosts. And this is another card that we want to destroy. That's good. We're getting the right mixture. Good balance of Death Wish and consumption. And really, this Lizard is going to be a fundamental card for us because it can consume every turn, once every turn. So really, you have one of these, and that potentially could be all you need for consumption. So, I mean, we could, let's see, if we go Night Wraith here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units on the board. 9 can fit in a row. So we play you. That would be, what did we say? We have 5, so this would be 6. Spawn in 2 rats, 7 and 8. We destroy you, gets us down to 7, but you spawn in 2 more rats, then we're at 9, the row is full. So that's just enough to fill the row. And then that means we might go Hyalmar next. Well, no, we should really try to save Hyalmar for last. So, anyways, let's go here. Spawn in 2 more rats immediately. Consume you. Get rid of you and spawn in 2 more rats to take your place. So this row is completely full. We can create more room if we consume a rat, if we are hard-pressed to find the space. That is still an option. So, what we hate is if our opponent has a way to damage a large number of units. Oh, speaking of large number of units, Germain can make that happen as well. All right, we're getting a good feel for it, because I think we want to play Germain as soon as possible, because he has a cooldown ability to spawn in even more cows, so the earlier we get him, the more cows we can create. And let there be more 1-powered units. And technically, you're also a card we'd like to play early, because Thrive will mean you'll increase power when we play something that is higher power than you, but that still should have plenty of time to boost you up a bit from that. And I think we're not really that much of a Thrive deck, so it's probably not going to be as much of a priority. So, okay. It's a whole lot of units. So what I'm getting at is, it's one thing if our opponent damages 1 unit by 3. Like, okay, you know, you do 3 damage to Germain or 3 damage to Slizzard. Unfortunate, but okay, we can live for it. Live with it. Obviously, if you deal 3 damage to a rat or a cow, that's serious overkill, so no big deal at all there. If, however, they can do something like damage every unit in a row by 1 or 2, and there are some cards that can do that, then say bye-bye to all of our rats. And that's not really something we want to have happen right about now. Okay, and as I said, they actually have a very similar deck to what we have. That card should look familiar. Ooh, Ethereal is well-timed. So, this will convert 1-powered cards into another 4-power Ethereal. So what we would actually love would be if we had room to put them over here and convert all these rats into Ethereals. We can only do it once per turn. So technically, we probably don't even have enough time to convert all these. So we'll probably just go melee row here and do it to the cows. So we'll spawn in an extra cow with Germain. It'll take 3 turns before we can do that again, but now we go and transform you into another cow. Is it always a unit to the right? Is it always the unit directly to the right? Like, we obviously don't want to convert Germain. Yeah, we might need to be careful of that. In Gwent multiplayer, I forget exactly how the targeting with Ethereal works, because he is very similar in Gwent multiplayer, but I don't use him much in multiplayer. There was a time when he was really strong, a brief time, then he got nerfed. Okay. Damage 1 enemy by 3. They go for this Ethereal. So let's see. If we use this, is it going to convert this cow, or is it going to be a random card and just happen to do the one that was right next to Ethereal last time? It does seem to be the... Oh! Okay, that's interesting. Did not see that one coming. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Andor. Have a good night. So this is a difference between the Gwent multiplayer version of Ethereal and this version of Ethereal in Rogue Mage. It does not create a base copy of him, it creates a copy of him. So, if he's damaged, the copy will also be damaged. If he's boosted, the copy will also be boosted. So that's actually a reason why we might have wanted to have kept Cleanse, boost up Ethereal, and then do the Ethereal conversion process and get that Ethereal big enough that you're basically just recreating copy after copy of a really strong card. There are still ways we can get him boosted, but without that leader ability, that's going to be a little bit trickier to make that happen. I think what we're looking at now, and so now that means after he took that damage, this Ethereal is... I mean, we're going to want to use him next turn anyway, because it's going to get rid of Germain, but that is an important piece of information we've just picked up. I think now what we will look to do, probably Werecat, and we can do to them what we were saying we were fearful of happening to us. Damage every unit in their melee row by 1. And that will get rid of their rats and weaken this warg and whatnot. Just, just deal a lot of damage, pretty much. Okay. So that's nice. And Hyalmar is looking pretty sweet on our next turn. Okay, that's a little bit of damage. They might use it to get rid of one of our 1 power cards. They got rid of Ethereal. Well, as we said, we're not too concerned. So the old versions of Ethereal that have already used their abilities, they can't use it again. So it's basically like, once it creates a copy, the old version is done. It's done its thing. It's only the latest and greatest version that can use the ability again. As we said, unless it got boosted, it was not going to be all that helpful to us. So it's actually not a bad thing that they destroyed it. Understandable that they targeted it because once upon a time it was our most threatening card, but not anymore. So now I think... Probably looking at Hyalmar here, because anything else is probably going to destroy something. Or if it's Harpy Egg, we want to play it here where it can get consumed by Slizzard, and in order to do that, we need to consume something in the range row to make space first, and we want to have as many units as possible when we play Hyalmar, so... Except the thing is, this is damaging one enemy unit. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 units, so this is 16 damage on Hyalmar. They don't have a 16 power card, so it is definitely overkill, but they at least have a 7. We could destroy this Raging Bear, could destroy the Proc for Hunter. It is lower power, but it is capable of dealing damage to us in the future, so it does have some long-term value that this bear does not have. I think this is still going to be worth more points. They don't have that much time left to use that Hunter, so... Yeah, I mean, you would like to have a better target for Hyalmar, and since it is overkill, you know what, maybe we're not that concerned about having the absolutely optimal number of units on the board to power this up. It's way more damage than we need anyway, so maybe we do go Cyclops, destroy Ethereal for 4 damage. It loses 4 damage, or loses 4 points on our side, but we do 4 damage to them, means we can get rid of the Brockfire Hunter. This is no longer doing anything, so it's not a big deal to lose it for us, but this is capable of doing stuff, so it is a big deal for them to lose it. So I think that's what we go for. It means we're losing a unit, which means that theoretically, Hyalmar is a little bit weaker, but I think that is fine, because as we were saying, right now Hyalmar is overkill anyway. That's going to consume something, so that's going to get pretty big. Up to 7. Ooh. Not a fan of that, though. And we have Jermaine, who's going to spawn in even more cards, so we need to get our Harpy Egg set up, because it's going to take a little bit of time to do this. So let's consume, just for the sake of clearing out a little bit of space, so we can get this Harpy Egg down. Then we will use Jermaine. And we are attempting fate a bit here. The score is quite close, and we have played 1 more card than they have. This is not what we want to see. Damaging 3 separate units. I mean, it's not as important now that we've, we have already used most of the things of import here, and actually, damaging Were-Rat just means it's easier to trigger this Death Wish. So, or rather, easier to trigger this Thrive and Death Wish for what it's worth, but Hyalmar on either of you, really. And we are probably going to need to... We have not used any energy yet. We are going to need to do that. We may have tempted fate a little bit too much. Little bit too much.
Hyalmar on fate coming for ya.
Either way. Triggers Thrive. Consume this. Spawn in a more powerful Harpy in its place. So we have a 9-point lead, but bear in mind, we've played 1 more card than they have. So we really should use this. And I think we're probably looking at Rapid Evolution here. We have plenty of units on the board, so maybe Rat Swarm was not a good idea because we were going to have plenty of Swarm even without it. Thunder, 3 damage. Do we have anything that is particularly important to remove? I'm not sure that we do. I don't think so. So I think we're going for Rapid Evolution here. It is also pretty cheap. So let's convert one of these 1-powered cards of some variety. Gets boosted when we use a card with a deploy ability. You have a deploy ability, so it's 3 base power better, and it will get boosted by 2 when we play this, so it is definitely better than a rat. It's not saying much, but it is decent value. Okay, Wolf Pack, a little bit of damage. Probably going after... Oh, who are they? Let's see what that was. They got rid of there. What was it? A Night Wraith? No, would have spawned in stuffs. No, it was something with Doom. It was one of the ethereals that had Doomed on it. Okay. So, not really anything significant to consume with Slizzard, but let us think. We shall Cyclops, destroy Werecat, damage everyone in this row. Are we going to trigger any Death Wishes if we do that? We will not, so that's good. We'll miss out on the Thrive proc, I think, but so be it. It's definitely... rather get all this damage than 1 point of boost. So we'll do that, and then might still... We'll see where that gets us point-wise. And if we don't feel confident about that... let's see. We're going to damage all of you. It was, what, a 2-point card? It shouldn't matter much. Just hit something in that row, because everything here is getting damaged. So that actually... I mean, that was pretty big. So that puts us in a much better place, but I still don't remember what this last card might be. So do we need to transform something else? I mean, it's pretty cheap. It's 2 energy. We'll do it just to be safe. It'd be rather disappointing to lose in the first battle, right? So at higher base power, we don't have the deployability on Morkbarg. That's fine. This gives us a little more of a buffer. So what is their last card? It's Axel 3. Ooh, that's pretty big. Boost self by the number of beasts. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. But if we had not done both of those conversions, that might not have been enough. So good thing that we did eventually spend a little bit of energy there. All right, I think we're probably looking to add. And boost all allied units by 1. We have, as we just saw, the capability to get a ton of units on the board. So boosting all of them could be a huge finisher for us, so I do like that a lot. Destroy an allied unit, then spawn 2 Elven Deadeyes in this row. It's a way to trigger the Death Wish, and it's a way to get a couple of 3 power cards on the board. We're not absorbing the power of the card that we destroy. So if it has Death Wish, we're probably fine doing it. If it doesn't, then it's... Don't love that idea. And then we're getting 6 points in return, which is, I mean, like... Maybe that's more points than we would get from the unit that we destroyed, so... And then PFI... just floods with more units, basically. Which I think we have seen that we can probably... With the combination of our units and our leader abilities, we have the Rat Swarm option. That's probably not really needed. I'm thinking we go Morvid here. That looks like that's a really strong addition. We have a lot of setup, but we need ways to get that stuff to pay off. We have tons of units. If we can boost all the units, that's great. If we can, you know, find a way to deal damage... Oh, well, yeah, with something like Hyalmar, deal damage based on how many units we have, that's also great. So let's see. We said upgrading is significantly weaker, right? But we want to try to get a key card... upgrade from Elite Battle, which is, you know, it's not the base, it's the base power upgrades that are weaker, we think. Elite Battle upgrades should still be fully effective, so that means we're not going to want to go middle route. We will want to go either top or bottom so we can set up an Elite Battle early. It's either Battle, Place of Power, or Place of Power followed by Event. I think we might want to go the more battle-centric routes is the direction I'm leaning, because I think getting more cards that, again, synergize with our general archetype early is definitely what we're looking for. So let's hop over here. And let us see what we end up with. Okay, so double an allied unit's power. Great on Bulwark. This might be the worst deck for this card, though. I mean, if we consume something, if we have something like the Slizzard, that continually consumes something over and over again every turn, then it will start to get pretty big, and so doubling that strength could become a factor. So, okay, fair enough. There is at least one way in which to make this very effective. Transform all cards in our deck into Roach. This is a 3-power card. Whenever you play a gold card, summon this unit from your deck to a random allied row. So... and does it count comparison of Lament as that gold card? Like, does it immediately trigger when you use this? Because what I'm wondering is this... all cards in your deck into Roach. So is this the very last card you want to play? And then you get all the Roaches summoned out? Or is this the second to last card you play, and then the last card you play is a gold, and that's what it takes to trigger all the Roaches? I'm not sure. So that would mean... this is actually really interesting to build around. Also, very memey, but... if you just go battle after battle and always add cards to your deck, normally that's not a good thing, or normally you'd get serious diminishing returns because you can only play so many cards before you've taken all your turns and the rest are just sitting in your deck collecting dust. But if they turn into Roach and they can get summoned out from your deck, then suddenly even cards that do not get drawn and played from your hands can still provide value. So there is still something to be said for just getting card after card after card added to your deck and having 20 Roaches. I mean, there's only 18 total board spaces, so that will start to become a restriction, and we already are flooding our rows quite a bit. So that, on one hand, it synergizes with cards like Hyalmar that benefit from having lots of units on the board. On the other hand, if we can already do that, and we don't need Roach for it, then this is just... I mean, if our rows are completely flooded, as they were in the previous battle, then this is basically no value at all. So it's... could be amazing. Could be pretty bad. Traveling Priestess. Spawn and play one of Alzur's spells. Do we get to choose which one it is? Or is it a totally random one? Usually, you get to choose between 3. I don't know. All of these feel like... this one is like the worst case scenario. You're at least getting something out of it. You're getting a 5-point unit. You're getting, presumably, something at least remotely useful from the spell. Whereas this one, if you're stuck doubling the unit, doubling the power of a 1-power rat, it's terrible. If you do have something like a Slizzard with really high base or really high power, then it's amazing. So it's really boom or bust. Kind of similar with this Roach transformation process. This one I'm a little more concerned about. I feel like this is really more an anti-synergy with this deck than it is a synergy with this deck. I think we go with this. Very much depends on us getting the Slizzard. But now it is event or it is battle. I think we wanna go battle. We wanna get cards that synergize with our deck. Otherwise, we're gonna be flooding rows, but not gonna be able to do much with our flooded rows. So cards like more of that, please. Okay, Bandit Leader. We've seen before. Oh, but it's a hard version. I was gonna say I thought this was going to be one of the weaker enemies we'd encountered before, but damage 2 enemy units by 1. Okay, so lots of little bits of damage, which is actually... it's a very good counter for what we're trying to do. As we were saying before, we don't like it when our opponents can damage lots of our cards. We did not have our key card last time, though. This is our first time getting Dettlaff Higher Vampire, so that's nice. Want ways to destroy him. The Slizzard is the most consistent way to do so. That's the combo we really want. Cyclops can destroy it once. If we get that Slizzard, then Girdle of Strength becomes relevant, but without it, we do not have a great target just yet. Jeez. Yikes. Ethereal, we've learned more about you. Could be a recipient of Girdle of Giant Strength. Do it to the starting Ethereal, and then when we create the additional Ethereals, it becomes a 8-point Ethereal every time we do it. That could add up to be quite significant, but still looking for that consumption, and we did not get it. That's a little scary. That is a little scary. So, if we're expecting damage 2 enemy units by 1, what if... So what if we put 1 unit on the board? So they're only going to be able to damage 1 unit. So you aren't getting quite as much value out of this. I mean, they're doing it every turn, so it's not like we're going to be able to do that for very long. But we start off with you, they damage you. I mean, we're not going to get any value from the deploy ability, but Death Wish we probably will. That's always the issue with Werecat. Same idea in, same exact abilities in multiplayer Gwents. So it's basically, you're either optimizing the deploy, or you're optimizing the Death Wish. You can't really optimize both, because they're fundamentally both of them you want to have activating late. Unless you, like, play it at the very end. I guess you can play it at the very end and consume it almost immediately. And then it's the Thrive that you're missing out on. It's just a weird combination of abilities on one card that are kind of anti-synergistic. But, point is, I think we do play you now, because Night Wraith, they immediately destroy our rats if we use this, and although that sounds like that's no big deal, we need our rats, because we want to transform them. With you, or with you. So... Yeesh. But then again, it's not like avoiding that on this turn is going to make things any better on our next turn, because they're still going to be able to do this again. So I don't know. They have a pretty sweet counter deck for what we're trying to do here. This could be problematic. Great Sword. We've seen a lot of this in our Savage Fury runs, and we will get more of the rats out here. The other reason why I wanted to start with you is because even if you got damage, that meant we were going to be able to trigger Thrive when we do this. So we would like to make it such that when we play Ethereal, since it always converts the leftmost card, and then it goes one more. We want to have the cards that we prioritize consuming the furthest to the left. We want to try to give ourselves time to get rid of you, to bring you back. However, when we do that, we prefer for that to be with consumption, so we're absorbing your power, not just replacing a 5 power unit with a 4 power unit, which is not beneficial unless we use Fertile Giant Strength on you. So it's still awkward. It is still very awkward. So we could convert you, and I think we will. We'll convert the one furthest to the right because, again, ooh, that's a nice card to see. This is something that synergizes with what we're trying to do. Every time a unit is destroyed, boost self by 1 for each unit destroyed. We're going to destroy a lot of units, so this can become very powerful. That is a huge addition. Except I don't like that, so you're going to immediately destroy it. Sometimes we just aren't allowed to have nice things. Okay, well, alas. See, the problem is we have one way to destroy a card. Ethereal can, I suppose. So, in which case, we are leaning very, very heavily on you. How do we put you to best use? Play you, Fertile Giant Strength, and then start using your ability as soon as possible, pretty much. I think that's what it has to be. I'm not sure there's any other way we can win this besides getting rats and just praying that the random conversion happens to turn it into something good. So I still don't love it. And we could do this now, convert a 3 power unit into a 4 power unit, and in doing so spawn in some more rats. I'd prefer to boost this up with Girdle of Giant Strength first. However, if this gets damaged by their leader ability and some other card they play from their hand, or destroyed altogether, then we're in serious trouble. So again, did not anticipate the way exactly that this was going to work, because it is different than multiplayer Gwent, and so having the cleanse ability would have been quite helpful to support it, but we don't have it now. We could just do this, spawn in rats, and because I am deeply concerned about the state of this deck, when Morkvarg enters your graveyard, summon it to your melee row and give it Doomed, another card that benefits from getting destroyed. It gets resummoned. It's basically an alternate version of Detloff Higher Vampire. It just only works once. Damage all other units by 1. Okay. So now the problem is, we can double your power, yes, but that gets you just back to 4, which is where you started, which is why it's not really thrilled about the prospects of this guy. Which is why, despite him technically being able to destroy cards, he's still not great for us. Yeah. So we could Cyclops destroy you in the process, get you resummoned, but then we have one more card that's gonna get drawn here. If it's Slizzard, we could be saved. If it's not, we are still in a world of hurt. So, yeah. This is just not an ability that we like very much at all anymore. I mean, yes, it triggers the Death Wish, but there's nothing to damage with that Death Wish, so it's functionally just about useless. Is why Cyclops, I mean, guess there's no rush for this. We might as well Germain, because he is an engine that gains value over time. Yes, I would like to convert Detloff, but again, doing that with a 2-power Ethereal is not very exciting. I think we're leaning super heavily on these conversions here. Would love the deploy ability on this. Boost self by 1 for every allied unit. If we got that, that'd be amazing. But the transformation does not give us deploys. It is still a higher base power card, so it is an upgrade, but that will get boosted. It's Lizard. Thank goodness. Oh my goodness, we might be saved here. We might be saved here. Okay. So now what we do, we play Scissor, and we're gonna consume you, and we're gonna get Detloff out here, and we're gonna consume you like crazy. Then we have a great target for Girdle of Giant Strength. It just needs to survive one freaking turn. One turn. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. Everything is fine. Don't worry. Everything is fine. So now we consume him, absorb his power, and he comes back out. And he can do that 3 more times. So we don't have that much more time to do that. We still have Cyclops that can destroy another card. I'm going to delay the Werecat, because the more cards they play, the more value we get out of the Death Wish, which is still just 1 point of damage, which is obviously not great right now. This case could be made for consuming Morkvarg, because that would prevent them from getting the boost on the Warcryer. So, well, okay. Alas, not really the case anymore. So, I mean, yeah, we still have more Death Wish than we have consumption. So that's the thing we are very much in need of. We are learning, I think, is more things like Slizzard would be very, very nice. So, I mean, technically, Morkvarg, at least doing Morkvarg once is more valuable than Detloff. So I think we will still do this. You'll get summoned back out here. And that was just from this order ability. We still can play something here. And so, I mean, again, we've more Death Wish than we can do anything with. So, I mean, we could Cyclops you. We were going to Cyclops Morfarg, I think, was the idea to get more damage out of it. I mean, we could still do it on Dettlaff, but nothing is going to trigger Thrive. So, yeah, and consuming the bigger unit means that the Girdle Giant Strength on Slizzard is going to be bigger, so I think that's probably still beneficial that we chose to go the direction we went in there. But I guess take your pick of which Death Wish card that we will not be able to consume we opt to play next. I would prefer if you did not hit Dettlaff, though. Spawn you. Consume you. Technically speaking, this is what? +3 on consumption to get a 5 power unit. This is +3 on consumption to get a 6 power unit. That is technically 1 point better. Technically speaking. Again, it's all just because we have a lack of consumption. So we could Cyclops now and destroy you. 3 damage. Still not amazing. I think we go Night Wraith. Should still have room. Especially if you destroy more cards. Now you can destroy Dettlaff. That is actually fine. It is interesting, because it seems like the enemy AI is like, ooh, Dettlaff, that's an important card. That's your key card. I'm supposed to target this, right? Wrong. We want you to destroy this, especially because we don't have enough consumption to get rid of it. What's up, Radio Medic? Good to have you back. Now that it has bleeding, though, we can actually consume it and avoid taking the damage from that bleeding, which is kind of nice. And, I mean, it is a weaker card than the Night Wraith is at this point, but I think we'll still go for it. Get you back out. And now we can go Cyclops and destroy this. And in doing so, we could hit you, and you're just a 4 power unit, so it's slightly overkill on the damage, but it denies them the opportunity to get the bleed, so that might still be worth doing. That gets Dettlaff back out, and he can come back out one more time, so we'll consume him with Slizzard on our last turn, in all likelihood, and then we'll boost up Slizzard with Girdle Giant Strength as our final play. Nice! Nice, good luck on your photos. Okay, I'd really prefer if you didn't hit him on that occasion. I mean, yes, on one hand, it is technically okay if you destroy him. On the other hand, I was about to consume him and absorb his power, and that was going to determine how much of a boost we got from Girdle Giant Strength. Could we consume something else? Yeah, we could consume the Night Wraith. Then we'd have 1, 2, 3, no more use. So 4, 5, 6 cards. We would still have enough board space. Technically, that is better. Now what I want to see is, on their last turn, are they going to damage Dettlaff and remove a 1 power card, only to give us a 5 power card in its place, and do us a huge favor? That'd be great. But Girdle Giant Strength, this is the key, ideal way in which we were hoping to set it up. 25 power card, doubled to 50, and that was a Slizzard that was slowed down. Bear in mind, we were consuming some cards that had already been damaged a fair bit, so we could potentially get a much higher Slizzard than that. Now, technically having 1 really highly boosted card is not generally a very good idea, because there is 1 specific card, Morkvar Carter's Error, that will hit a card until it is damaged, meaning 1 below its starting power. So it would damage you down to a 4 for 46 damage. We have a lead. It is less than 46. So, needless to say, we do not want to see that. Did I just jinx it? Does this enemy have to? They did exactly what I said they might do. They helped us out. It's Madman Lugos. We're fine. We're fine. They gave us points there. And they were not able to shut down the Slizzard, so we're fine. We're fine. Okay, Bandit Leader taking care of this deck. Makes me nervous, man. I think we need to add something And we were saying Brand Warrior to get boosted up whenever we destroy a card could be really useful. We do have some deploy abilities, not a lot. We really like consumption. More consumption, but we do not see it here. Could remove... no thanks. I mean, maybe Night Wraith, but definitely not Cyclops and definitely not Morvid. Let's add you. We just need more stuff that synergizes. And that's one component. But now we head to this place of power. And which kind is this? This is remove a card or gain energy. So we reduce the maximum energy we can get. 75 is our cap. That is one of the curses that we use. So we'd only be able to get 20 before we... Or rather, we'd only be able to get 10 before we reach our cap, not the full 20. So... Not great. Not great. I mean, it is still something. It's some value. Remove a card. Unfortunately, I don't think we get to preview what it is when we see this. It's just, you know, once you click on it, you are committed to it. So... Not loving that. Remove a card when we can do the preview, as we just previewed on the previous battle. Not bad. We could consider it, but I'm not loving the blinds commitments here. I think we take the half value energy, to be honest. It's something beneficial. I just don't want to have us forced into removing one of our key synergizing cards that we've recently picked up, because we need all those we can get. And so, you're saying how upgrading our key card with an elite battle could be a really huge upgrade. On the other hand, I really don't think we can handle an elite battle right now. I don't think our deck is strong enough, unless we get crazy lucky with a bunch of RNG with the random transformations, with our leader ability. So I don't know. Are we willing to take that risk? It could be a very short run. Let's try it. Let's try it. Yeah, I know we've seen you before, but I forget how you work. Forget what you do. Spawn to play a card from Maxi's arsenal? What? Okay, hold on. Is there an elite version of this enemy and a non-elite version of this enemy? Because this does not sound familiar at all. I know I've seen you. I recognize the card. I recognize the name as well. I do not recognize this ability at all, though. I do not remember this. And I have no idea what this means. So that is kind of concerning / difficult to plan around. We have Detloff. So that's our preferred card to consume. And we have Hyalmar, which is another card that synergizes well with loading up on a bunch of units on the board. But we need the consumption. It seems like that is always going to be the key question. It's just, do we have the Scissor? If we do, we'll be alright. If we don't, our deck is fundamentally missing one component. So, I think we're dumping a Death Wish card. So we have several, and Deadloff is functionally 5 Death Wish cards built into one. 4 Death Wish cards built into one. So, really, really need Slizzard. And we did not get it. So, how does this play out then, you ask? We pray to RNGesus. Is the only answer. Is the only answer. Consumption! Thank goodness! One round of consumption, but we will absolutely take it. They Snowdrop. Draws cards, put cards back into their deck.
I like you whether you like this or not.
So it's a consistency tool. Oh, what was that? Was from their arsenal. Boost an allied unit by 5 and give it Defender. That is an extremely powerful status. Means if they play other cards in this row, we can only target Snowdrop. We can't target the other cards in the row. So that's not great. Ooh, I do like you though. That is very similar to consumption. Technically not quite the same thing, but I think what we're probably looking for here is Detloff and consume Detloff with Barghest. That'll get Detloff summoned back out. And then, in terms of what we play, I think we go Night Wraith melee row and start setting up Ethereal to convert all those Night Wraiths into other Ethereals. Because this is going to spawn in rats as well, and when it gets destroyed, it'll spawn even more rats, so we can use those as Ethereal fodder. As long as this doesn't get damaged, because every time we play this, it's gotten damaged and completely shut down the combo. So, again, Cleanse with Ethereal turns out is actually pretty darn important. So, go with you next. Oh, I mean, yeah, then we go Ethereal, I suppose. It means I was originally going to go Detloff next, but slightly different order. It'll be fine. I think we're still gonna convert. Ooh. Ooh. Talk about consistency tools. You had one on their previous turn. Now we just got one. Draw up to one card, then shuffle the same number of cards back into our deck. Basically, we can get rid of bad cards, or we can draw into more cards, hopefully good ones, and replace the bad ones. So, the longer we wait, the more cards we can use to sift through our deck. And that could be a way to get something like Slizzard, or something like Morwood, something like Vran Warrior, the cards that we very much would like to have right about now. So I do like the sound of that. I think we'll wait at least one turn before we use this, though, because just one card shuffling is not that big of a factor. And we're still going to draw more cards as well. So, still going to get the chance to see what comes next. Okay, Johnny. And every time we draw a card, it gets boosted as well. Which, yeah, getting an early Istrid actually means that gives us a little more value. Granted, this is a card that we don't really want. So this is the kind of card we would potentially swap out with Istrid. But we do this now. And if we were going to play Detloff this turn anyway, then that doesn't matter too much. But technically speaking, if we could get a Slizzard, we would prioritize that over Detloff, I think. So we have just so many things we want to consume, and so limited access to consumption / destruction. So this might still be the next thing we play and just start working on Night Wraith and Rats down here. I think so. Okay, more rats, more fodder for Ethereal. As long as it stays on 4 power, we will gain 3 points every turn from this. That has not been something we've been able to pull off in the past, because they've made a point of targeting this very aggressively. And we wanted to destroy Johnny. They have a okay. I see what's happening here. Damage random enemy units. Okay, I take issue with that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units on the board. Damage 2 random enemy units. You say you happen to hit the Ethereal with both of those procs of damage. I doubt that. What are the chances? You can do the math. It's 1 out of 9. It's 11% chance they got on the first attempt. And okay, no, I don't know what 1/9 times 1/9 is. Or technically, it'd be 1 minus 8 times 9 times 7 divided by 8, or 1 minus parentheses 8 divided by 9, 7 divided by 8, right? So it's still pretty low chance. Or that's the chance of it not happening. But yeah. I'm thinking this might be the Istrid turn. We only really have one card that we very much want to destroy. Or that we want to get rid of, rather, that being Harpy Egg. And if we get Slizzard, we would absolutely play that. So I think we go for it here. There it is. Okay. So now we have to choose which cards we put back. So bear in mind that we aren't going to have that much time left to play all these cards. So some of them generate value over time. Some of them are point slams. It's like, I don't think we need Cyclops if we have Slizzard. because they serve similar functions. So you're not necessary. You're definitely not necessary. You're the weakest card we have in hand. Question is, do we prefer something like Werecat to damage everything in one of their rows, or we prefer something like Morvid to boost all of our cards? I think we probably have more Death Wish than we know what to do with. How many cards do we need to put back? Was it 3 or was it 4? Is it just down to you two? Honestly, Germain, we might not have room for you. It might be Germain. I think it is. To be honest, I think it's Germain. Okay, so now we have Slizzard, which is huge. Because we can do this, and we want to get you down as quickly as possible. So technically speaking, Ethereal does still give value. It's not great value, but it is value. 1 points with those conversions. We should... What row for Slizzard? Probably still this. The other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to destroy you. So they have a bunch of cards that gain value whenever they play a special card, and then this leader ability is basically they play a special card of pretty significant power. So this deals damage to us when they play a special card, and this creates a copy of itself when they play a special card. And this is basically like an alternate version of Ethereal. It's very similar. So the original copy, once it uses its ability, creates a copy of itself, it no longer is active. It's only the most recent copy that can duplicate itself. Same with Ethereal. These ones have already done their thing. It's only the most recent one that can continue to duplicate itself. So that's why we go Thunder here and destroy you. And now we've completely shut this off. So there's still a 3-point body here, but they can no longer create copies of it. So I meant to do that on our previous turn, but I forgot. Yes. We can consume if we would like, but I think we save this. I mean, yes, it's some value from consuming the Night Wraith, but we'd still probably prefer to just go all in on as many Detlofs as possible. Okay, Botchling will deal damage to our highest unit, which is one of these guys. It will definitely become Slizzard. Okay, Ryan, we were still going to draw some cards, that's true. Cyclops gives us a little more destruction, that's okay. And this is the Cyclops that we drew into and put back into our deck briefly. So it's gotten a couple of boosts from Istrid, which is a nice little bonus. So it's definitely Detloff time now. So what we do is we consume you, you come back out, give Slizzard a boost. Slizzard can only consume once per turn, so even if you do come back, we are limited to 1 per turn. We could consume with Barghest, yes. However, we're deliberately trying to get this Slizzard to be as high as possible so that we can then girdle Giant Strength on it and get a huge boost from that. So I think we'll just do this. And this Barghest, that might be something we use to consume the Night Wraith instead. Might go that route. And we have a lot of units. It's not enough to destroy Snow... Oh, right. Snowdrop is still getting boosted from cards they draw. Reveal a random card from your deck. It's a special card. Play it. That is the worst card. Most powerful card they could possibly use against us. 2 damage to every unit in a row. Remember when I said there are some cards that do that? That's it. So it was the row that had all the Ethereals in it, and the Ethereals had already been significantly weakened, so it's not a humongous loss, but as you can see, that was... It's not as big a loss as it could have been, but they're still arguably the single best card they could have used against us. So not exactly happy to see them pull that off there. We do still have this combo. We do have that. It does mean that the biggest setback was that significantly weakens Morvid and Hyalmar, because they were starting to look pretty solid. That is not really the case anymore. We could potentially even Rat Swarm here to make up for the units that we lost and just flood the melee row to set up things like Hyalmar and Morvid. That might be what we go for here. Yeah, I think so. Was wondering if we'd ever have a time to use this, because it felt like we had so many ways to spawn in a bunch of units that was just not going to be necessary. But it did prove useful here. I think we actually Go with Werecat now. It's not great value, but it's some value. And that way we get one more card on the board, so that gives more power theoretically for Hyalmar and more of it, assuming they don't pull off another Lacerate like they just did on the previous turn. And I didn't even realize they gave Defender to Johnny as well. Honestly, that means we can target Johnny, and we would like to destroy Johnny, because he is an engine. So that's intriguing. Boost a unit by 10. Lots of big cards. Okay, and they did destroy something else as well. So, once again, consume Detloff. Get Detloff back out. We can do that one more time. And we could make that happen with Cyclops, but I think we would prefer to just continue to have Slizzard consume this Detloff and get you as big as possible. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Spawn in 4 more rats. That gets us up to 8, which means we have room for 1 more in this row, which could be Hyalmar. And we do that. We have 9 units in this row. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 damage, which is almost enough to remove Snowdrop. It is enough to remove Snowdrop if we add in a Thunder. It's not that important that we remove her. It's more so just she happens to be the tallest unit. Don't think they're going to be drawing anything else from here on out. Johnny is actually more of an engine. So he has lower power, but has some additional... his ability is still relevant, whereas that's not really the case for Snowdrop. So, do you use leader ability to set up the Snowdrop removal? Even if you kind of prefer getting rid of Johnny? We could go... tell you what, we could go Cyclops... and that would give us enough damage to remove Johnny. If we did it on something like Barghest, it does remove the card, so it weakens Hyalmar. So I think we'll go Hyalmar and destroy Snowdrop this turn, then next turn we'll go after Johnny. Just because the order of operations on our side works a little bit better there. It's not quite as good at destroying the cards we want to destroy in the optimal order. Oh, right, we already spawned in the rats in this turn, so we can't destroy you immediately. Not a huge concern, as we said. It's not really something we need to destroy immediately. But stop playing special cards.
I will not let this become a
No! Oh my god! Enough lacerates! They used it in the other row, surprisingly. But it is arguably the single best card against us, and they are spamming it. Okay. So now it is also not strong enough. The Cyclops is, or that rather, this Barghest is not strong enough for Cyclops to destroy it and remove Johnny. Gross. I think we Morvad. Does it matter if we actually might want to Morvad first, then consume you, get you back out, then we Cyclops you, continue to consume things with Slizzard, and last play is Girdle Giant Strength on Slizzard? I don't know, man. I don't know, man. This enemy has some pretty potent stuff. So let us do this. Boost everyone up. Technically, we might have... if we were going to convert a rat into something else, we should have converted it first, because I was just thinking that might be what we want to do if we're trying to get a little more aggressive here. But... because now that means we have a 2-power unit we're converting, rather than having a 1-power unit we're converting, and then boosting that unit that we converted. So it's basically 1 point missed. But, consume you. Get your back out. And now, I mean, we could... but it was not even enough damage with a Thunder to remove that Snowdrop again. It's not really relevant anymore. Because Johnny has Defender, so we can target him. That's more important. But I think we are still going Rapid Evolution here on one of these 2-power rats again. Technically should have done it earlier, because now it is just a 1-point upgrade, which is not great. Oh no. Well, we lost. Unless we destroy you with Cyclops, which we can do. Okay, we absolutely must. Because this removes our boosts and absorbs all of the boosts for itself. We have a Slizzard that is boosted by 15, that is about to get boosted by more than 15. So, yeah. If this uses its ability, we are even more completely annihilated than we currently are. So it must go, and that was not the way that I wanted to use Cyclops, but it's going to have to be the way that we use Cyclops. So, at this point, Slizzard can only consume things in the same row as it. Detloff has already used all of its charges, so it can no longer come back, so we could consume it, but it's not going to help us that much. So I think what we're actually looking for here is Cyclops onto Werecat, damage everything in this row, and there's a lot of stuff in this row. So it's not bad there, and then it's a little bit overkill, but it is enough to destroy Regis Higher Vampire. So I think that's the combo we're looking for here. Okay, so we shut down what was going to be a hard counter. Got a little bit of extra damage in the process. Still consume stuff here, and assuming they don't have another Regis Higher Vampire, that means we can just consume whatever's biggest here, because that means that when we do eventually double your strength, you're going to be that much stronger. So we might, for that reason, want to use... We're going to want to use something here. Because, yes, we have a bit of a lead, but we played one more card than them. This is a good finisher. It's going to be, as things currently stand, 28. Should be a little bit more than that once we consume one more card. It's like a 36-ish point finisher as things currently stand. Which is a lot, yes. But, again, they have 2 more cards than us, and they have their leader ability. So, or 1 more card than us, and they have their leader ability. So, I think we transform you and see if we get something better. Once again, it is a 1-point upgrade. I mean, yes, it's an upgrade. No, it's not great. That is going to be a ton of damage, right? Because they've used a bunch of special cards in this match, and that is why we would love a Bone Talisman. That is why I was saying, despite what appeared to be a pretty big lead, it was not as big as it might have seemed. Fortunately, they're on cooldown for their lead ability, so it's just a matter of 1 card versus 1 card. They have a lead, but this is a good finisher. We should consume the biggest card here, which in this row would be the 5-point Detloff Higher Vampire, which means you'll get it to 31, W to 62, so it's a 31-point finisher, unless we get something else that's better still, which... I mean, we don't really have a great target for Rapid Evolution other than this Toad Prince, and it's in the other row, or this Hyalmar, but you're in the other row, and Slizzard cannot consume that. So, is it Rapid Evolution there? Is there anything we can destroy that would be useful? Once upon a time, we thought we'd get rid of Johnny, but in the end, was not feasible. Rat Swarm, I don't think changes much here. I think it is this. Miss the deploy, but we can destroy an allied unit with 1 power, then boost self by 2. It's actually different, slightly different than the multiplayer Gwent version, and would have meant we could destroy Hyalmar, but we don't have time to use this order ability. So, alas, it will not work. This would have been a decent synergizing card with the rest of our deck, but consume you. Get you up to 31, as we said. That means double you up to 62. If this is Morkvarg, Heart of Terror on you, then obviously we are annihilated. But otherwise, we have a reasonably sized lead here. Again, no leader ability. Marigold's Hailstorm is a chunk of damage, but not enough. Oh, man. Apparently, that was our first time defeating that enemy. Or, I think we've seen it before, but this might have been the first time we've seen it as an elite enemy, and it has, like, some non-elite version or something like that. Because we got an achievement for it. So now we can either get a treasure. I forgot that that's an option. To go treasure instead of getting Detloff. I do like Tears of Dragon with this deck. It is basically an alternative to our leader ability that transforms a card. So in some ways, you can make the case that, okay, maybe we were saying before that getting a cleanse would make some sense with this deck, especially with the ethereal. So maybe you take cleanse as one of your options, and then you just try to get a Tears of Dragon as quickly as possible, and that's your way of converting your weak cards into stronger ones, potentially. But summon this card from your graveyard to the same row, increase its own base power by 1, and there's no more limit to the times we can use it. So yes, this is a substantial upgrade. This is the big upgrade we were expecting, or that we were hoping might be, but we weren't 100% sure, so yes, we're definitely going with that. If we did not have the transformation leader ability, then you could make a stronger case.
Damn the heavens! This hornet of a woman is truly relentless.
Okay, so yeah, if we didn't have rapid evolution, then you could make a stronger case for taking that treasure, because it does synergize with this deck, but just made more sense to go for the key card upgrade instead, I think. So we could, if we felt so inclined, head on our way toward another elite battle. How much energy did we blow through? It felt like a lot. It actually wasn't that much, because some of the spells in this that we are using, like that rapid evolution, are considerably cheaper than other ones. So we could go this way toward this event in this battle, and then we don't necessarily need to commit. We could divert paths over to the events. That's a long time without a place of power. Whereas if we go this way, we get one here. Yeah, technically, if we want an elite battle, rather than going to this one, I think it might make more sense to go this route. You get 2 places of power. Restore energy at one of them, then we're basically capped off. Then we can do whatever we need here. Then if we want to do an elite battle, we take this one. Basically. I think that just lines up better for us. I think we go that route. Over here. So this is duplicate a card. Or gain 20 energy. Honestly, duplicating a Slizzard would be unbelievably valuable. However, we don't know... Do we get the choice to duplicate anything? I forget. I think we try it. I think it's anything but your leader ability and or your key card. Even the treasure is possible to duplicate, but this is just so crucially important that we get. We've said many times before, if we have the Slizzard, we can win. If we don't have the Slizzard, we are almost guaranteed to lose, it feels like. So I think we duplicate it. I think it just gives us substantially more consistency. Rather than relying almost entirely on a single card, we at least have 2 cards. 2 cards we're relying on here. Okay, so now we were saying... Take a quick look at the northern route, because I didn't even look at this at all. No elite battle. Yeah. I think we go... we go here. This battle, we opted not to take energy, the previous place of power, but we could do it this time if necessary. Normal battle after that, and then treasure leading into either elite battle or other place of power. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Okay, Ice Giant. Throw effects. What else? And Death Wish, I think. Destroy an allied unit. Yeah. Okay, so we have a Slizzard. We have 2 Slizzards in our deck now. So, honestly, 2 Slizzards is not even a bad thing if we happen to draw into our second one, because that means since Slizzard is limited to 1 consumption per turn, you could have one consuming things, you could have both of them in the same row and just consume 2 cards per turn in the same row, or because they can only consume things in the same row, you put one in the melee row, put one in the range row, and you can consume like crazy in both rows every turn. So that's not bad. So we have consistent consumption, which with an upgraded Detloff, with unlimited number of times we can consume it. I mean, that's a perfect example of a time where you would love to have 2 Slizzards in the same row. Do that, put Detloff in that row, consume a Detloff with 1 Slizzard, consume the new and improved 1 higher base power Detloff with the other Slizzard, and just keep on going and going. Actually, out of curiosity, what happens with another upgrade on Detloff? So, summon this unit from your graveyard to the same row and increase its own base power by 3. So still unlimited uses. Of course, I don't know how you improve that other than like create a copy of Detloff. Now you have 2 Detloffs. But no, just the rate at which it powers up is substantially higher. Yeah. That's pretty impressive. So, you are basically all the Death Wish we need, technically speaking. Especially now that it's an unlimited number of uses on this. So, I like that, which means we might not need Night Wraith, and that is one of... Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it. Yes. We're doing it. And it's perfect. Okay, we're going to see how high we can get on these lizards. It's going to be ridiculous. We need these to stay alive long enough. Hold on. Destroy an allied unit, then boost another allied unit by the destroyed unit's power. Cooldown 3. Okay, I think what we're technically going to do here, we're going to start with Detloff as a sacrificial lamb. Just to see if they do this and try to destroy one of our cards. Destroy an allied unit, then boost another allied unit by destroyed unit. Okay, no, it's just Frost. Okay. For a second, I thought they destroy one of their cards and damage one of our cards by the same amount of power. And that would mean Slizzard is at risk of getting immediately destroyed. Unless they have additional damage on the unit that they play. I don't think that's the case. Or at least, well, we'll see. No, it's a Fuka, which gains power over time. Okay, so now we will go... I guess we'll go... I mean, do we do double Slizzard first, and then Detloff after that? Like, which one is mathematically better? Start Detloff now and do one round of consumption, or wait for Detloff one more turn, but immediately do a double Detloff consumption. I think we might go wait for the double Detloff consumption. We'll get a little greedy. Obviously, we're not going to consume the Slizzards. They're not going to consume each other. So these need to survive for one more turn. That's fine. That's fine. So we're doing something super, super greedy. So now there's a row effect. It's Frost. It'll damage the highest allied unit by 2 every turn, but shouldn't be much of a problem. So what we do is we put Detloff here. Consume him once. Actually, we'll consume you with... Oh, we should actually technically load up on as much power on one card as possible, because the greedier we are with one of these Slizzards, the more effective Girdle Strength is going to be. So we'll make you be the lower Slizzard, since you've already been damaged. Then he can come back an infinite number of times, and every time he does, he's now 1 point stronger. And we can do that twice per turn, once per Slizzard. And every time he gets stronger, it's gonna be sweet. I am very much looking forward to seeing how strong these Slizzards are gonna get. Because this is going to scale exponentially as time goes on. We should get a Vran Warrior out here, because it gets boosted every time we destroy a unit, and we are going to destroy at least 2 units every turn. So I am all about it. Put you in a different row. Technically speaking, wait. Destroy an allied unit, then boost another allied unit. Destroy unit's power, spawn Frost with the same duration on an enemy row. They have control over what row they do it on. We should technically row stack to minimize the effectiveness of the row of the weather effects. Otherwise, in this case, they're limited to having Frost hit 1 unit per turn. If we have units in this row as well, they can get 2 points of Frost damage here and 2 points of Frost damage here as well. But let us consume. Big boost on you. Boost on you as well. Consume again. Bigger boost on you. And you get more powerful. Boost on you as well. The more we do it, the more effective it becomes. Cave Troll means Defender. I mean, okay, sure. Not really sure. Well, technically speaking, we could Cyclops. Destroy Detloff, Higher Vampire. And it just more rapidly scales how quickly he gets high base power. So that means 4 points for Slizzard. Now, technically, we need 11 points of damage if we're going to try to remove Cave Troll. And we can do that if we consume first. Or we could Cyclops destroy you. 9 points of damage would drop you down to a 2. And then we could Alzur's Thunder to remove you if we felt so inclined. That's probably overkill. I guess we'll just do this. So now you're an 11, and the reason why it keeps on kind of going back and forth between which Slizzard is higher is because even though we're trying to make this the higher Slizzard, by being the higher unit, it's always getting hit by the Frost, whereas this one is not, so it's going to kind of level them out. But alas, now we do this. Destroy you. Lots of boosts on this Vran Warrior as well, and Detloff is already up to a 12. I'm telling you, man. these lizards could very well exceed 100 points, or one of those lizards could very well exceed 100 points by the time everything is said and done. We are not going to have that many units on the board, because we just are, rather than spawning a bunch of cards whenever we do the consumption with things like the Night Wraith, we're just re-consuming Detloff over and over again, obviously. So things like Hyalmar, not quite as effective. Morwood, not quite as effective. Harpy Egg, I mean, eh. We don't care about consuming you when we can consume Detloff, right? So, more of that. Technically, that was not the preferred order if we were trying to maximize the boost on this guy, but so be it. Okay. What are we actually playing from our hand? These guys would like to wait. And I guess we're playing a Harpy Egg and it's just not going to get... It's not going to get destroyed. Probably. But that's okay. Okay, Ghoul. That'll get boosted. Barrier Thrive. Or not. Honestly, 2 points per turn? Eh. I don't care. We're getting 29 points per turn. Actually, more than 29 points. We're getting 31 points per turn at this stage. From this. So, get on our level. Because right now, if we were to play Girdle's Giant Strength, this would get to a 100 points lizard. However, if we wait and continue to do this, then it could be over 100 points lizard. I don't know if we're going to get up to 200, but again, the more we do this, the stronger it becomes. Imagine if we had already upgraded Detloff once again, and he was, rather than getting increased by 1 each time, getting increased by 3 each time. This would be unbelievable, this setup. So, like I was saying before, the starting deck felt weak. We needed more consumption. We got more consumption, and then we upgraded Detloff, and the upgrade for Detloff was substantial. And once we got those things working, we got more synergies, or at least made those synergies more sustainable. Substantial improvement. Also, this was the best possible hand we could have started with. Just double Slizzard plus Detloff, so that we got lucky in that sense. So, dramatic improvement, yes, but it was in part because we got very lucky. So now, I mean, Werecat is in a similar boat as the Harpy Egg, where we're just not really going to have much time to benefit from it. Technically, put it here to damage 2 cards rather than just damaging 1, although, yeah. That way we're still minimizing the damage from weather effects, I guess. We want to get more units on the board before we play these guys. Okay, Bridge Troll. Gives you more boosts when it gets destroyed. But, honestly, don't think that's a huge factor here. Why don't we... I guess we'll Hyalmar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with Hyalmar. Destroy this Ghoul. Don't really want to damage the Thrive unit, otherwise it just makes it easier for them to trigger that Thrive. So I think we go here.
Who wants to taste Skellige's steel?
And get rid of you. Trigger this Thrive. And we destroy a card, so that boosts you up as well. And we do this. And we do this. Okay, Old Spirit Tip. Nice little point slam you have there. Yeah, also, they're consuming cards. They're destroying cards, which is boosting up our Fran Warrior on their turn, which is nice. Morwood is next. Now, we may not be able to play him in this row, otherwise we might not be able to fit Detloff. Sometimes that happens where when you try to summon in cards and you have just one more space in the row, sometimes in some cases that still kind of bugs things out and prevents you from making stuff happen. And this is important enough to continue to use Detloff that I'd rather not risk that. Okay, Old Spirit Tip asleep. Also, mostly just a point slam. And this is our last play. This is our last turn. So now we will do more Detloff consumption. And we will get an over 200 points lizard when we do this. Because we will double this guy's power. Boom. Now, if you have Morkvar, Card of Terror, I would not be very happy you're dealing 204 damage to that Slizzard. Fortunately, they did not. I would have been absolutely crestfallen if they did. But alas, I think we won. I think we might have won. So here's the thing. Let's take a look at what we can add and remove. Because consistency could be really useful. Obviously, we've just demonstrated. When we get this combo set up, it is amazing. There are ways to counter it. Most notably, Morkvar, Card of Terror that damages enemy until it is damaged. So 1 below its starting power, and that would mean, in that case, over 200 damage on one of the Slizzards. Granted, we had 2 Slizzards, so it wouldn't have been the absolute end of the world, but it still would have broken my heart. So, consistency with Istrid to get that stuff happening more consistently would be great. Rotfiend, another Death Wish card that deals damage. I mean, as we've already said, we seem to have enough Death Wish. We do not have enough consumption, or we have just enough consumption. We need to make sure that we get it. So, Istrid is probably still the most valuable option here. We've seen LES before. Remove, and getting rid of something like the Harpy Egg. This is quite possibly the worst card in our deck right now. So this is another way of getting consistency. Although this might be a preferable way of getting consistency, because this is consistency plus points. And he's kind of an engine by himself. Whereas this is consistency by just getting rid of a bad card. So, I mean, like, we'd like to do both. But maybe we prioritize Istrid. So when things go right, we can do that, which is pretty incredible. So I don't know, what were you guys anticipating we would get for the power on those Slizzards when we started that encounter and started to demonstrate just what that combo could do? Did you think we'd get up to 200? Maybe. Maybe. So, well. Let us see. We could go Elite Battle, straight into an Elite Battle. Yeah, the thing is, like, I don't know how often we're going to be able to pull that off. That might be a one-time thing. We'd love for that to be something that happens regularly, and that is now basically the goal from here on out, is to try to make it so we can do that as often as possible. So, and an Elite Battle would make it an even stronger combo yet. Granted, it's kind of greedy in more ways than one. It's like, you, technically speaking, if I were being really critical and just trying to maximize our win percentage, our win chance, Elite Battle is probably not the answer. Why is that? Because, as you just saw, if we get double Slizzard and Detloff, and our opponent does not have a way to counter it, we win. And so, further upgrading Detloff doesn't really change that, it just means we win by more. We put up more points, which is exciting, it's a lot of fun, but it doesn't really change our likelihood of winning. Because if we were going to get Slizzards plus Detloff, we were already going to win if they didn't have a way to counter it. And if they have a way to counter it, then it doesn't matter if we've upgraded Detloff. Probably still, or we may still be losing it. Granted, Detloff increases his base power, so, you know, he's harder to shut down, but, you know, whereas having things like improving your consistency, so you can do that every single match, guaranteed, then you're gonna win. Or you know, unless your opponent has a counter, you're gonna win. Whereas, you know, otherwise, our opponent could counter us, or we could just get a bad hand, and that could also mean we lose. So, and I suppose we're thinking about maybe doing an Elite Battle. We might as well do this one, where we can get a Place of Power first, normal battle first, and a treasure chest, perhaps most importantly first. So we got something like a Magnifying Spyglass, which is fantastic for consistency. Then we're basically set, and we probably don't need this. And we could still potentially do this, but let's head here. We cannot upgrade our key card, right? It's a +3 base power Detloff is a substantial upgrade because, as we saw, the more base power he has, that means more boosts when we consume him every single time we consume him. So it's not just 3 more power, it's 3 power times whatever the number of times we consume him is, which in the previous match was like 15. So, you know, like 45 extra points? Yeah, I'll take it. Again, win more, not win more often, once again, but the best option for this would probably be a Slizzard. Now, ideally, we would have increased the base power of a Slizzard and then duplicated the Slizzard, because then I think we would have gotten both Slizzards being at 8 base power. So that is one other weakness of the Slizzard, is before it does the consumption is a little bit vulnerable to getting destroyed because it's just 5 power. But could just go energy, that's the safe route. If we're going elite battle soon, we might want this. Technically, you could make a case that the base power on the Slizzard would be consistency, because again, if it gets destroyed before you get the chance to do the consumption, then there goes your key engine. But let's jump into this battle here. Bounty Hunter. I remember this guy. See the hard version or not? He's not. Okay, so damage enemy unit by 1, increase the damage by 1 for each marked enemy unit. Cooldown 2, at the end of your turn, mark a random unmarked enemy. Okay, so like right now, for example, no Slizzard, no Detloff. That's a problem. That is not the... That was a misclick. That was supposed to be the Night Wraith. We liked Hyalmar. We did get a Slizzard. That is nice. We did get a Brand Warrior. That's also nice. We did get a Curdle Giant Strength. That's also nice. Would have still liked Hyalmar. Okay. I mean, this does synergize with Almer, but... So you have damage, is the thing. Which means we need to be careful here with the Slizzard, especially because we... Again, if we had Cleanse, that would also make up for one of our weaknesses, which is... We have some cards that need a little bit of time for setup, or when they get weakened, like Ethereal, then they're substantially less effective. So do we deliberately play something like Night Wraith that could damage, but it's gonna mean they will trigger the Death Wish in the process? I think because what happens with this guy is he gets the marks, and the more marks are on the board, since he continues to add them, the more his damage starts to scale. So the cards you play early are comparatively a little bit safer. Once you get later on and there are lots of marked cards, then the damage starts to get a little bit scary. But by then, hopefully Slizzard is big enough that that's no longer a concern. So I think we do still go Slizzard first for that reason. And again, we don't have a way to boost it, because we don't have Cleanse. So that's the risky part. So we need this to survive 1 turn. And it will get weakened, yes. But it will still survive. It will get marked. Still very much hoping to get Detloff here. But now we can Night Wraith. And consume you. Get you back up to a 5. Would like for that to have been a little bit more, because it's not a huge boost. You're just up to your base power now. So we need bigger cards. And chief among them would be Detloff. Or Istrid to help us get Detloff. Things of that sort. Technically, consumption is a counter for mark, or statuses in general, because we can consume the thing that has the mark and reduce the total number of marks on the board. So that is the thing. Also, you're on cooldown next turn, thankfully. So, does all this stuff take 2 turns to do? That mark, I think, still happens every turn. The damage only happens every other turn, but the mark happens every turn. Okay, more damage. Assuming you go melee row, it's immediate damage. Likely targeting you. No? Okay. Yep, another mark. Okay. More spawning. Yes. But not... Okay, on one hand, we could just consume you and get rid of a marked card. give you a small boost to Slizzard, and play Germain and just maximize the amount of time he has to spawn in the cows. Or we play Night Wraith and have a card that we actually want to consume, more so than this because we get additional value from the consumption. I think we'll go this route. It's a little risky because Slizzard is only up to 6, but with only 1 marked card, it means they do not have as much setup as they would like here. Get bleeding. Also, I mean, okay, well, granted. What? No! Okay, that is the problem. Damage on a unit by 1. Increase damage by 1 for each marked unit. There's 1 marked unit here. There's 1 marked unit there. But how did you get 2 marked units? Mark an enemy unit and give it bleeding 3. So there were 1, 2, 3 marked units. That meant 4 damage. This was on a 6. Ah. Wait. No? How did you have enough damage? How did you have enough damage for that? This was on 6. You had 1, 2, 3 marked units. 1 power plus 3 from the 3 marked units means 4 damage. You played this, which gave bleed here, which did not damage the Slizzard. You can't get extra damage from these guys once they're on the board. How did you have enough damage? You had 4 damage on a 6 power unit, and you somehow removed it. What? Excuse me? I get a review on that one? I'd like to see that one again. Did I miss something? Because it really did not look like you had enough damage to make that happen. And that was a crucially important card. The most important card for us. So, yeah. You know, that does concern me a bit. So, okay. Well, in that case, we will play the Vran Warrior, and that way, if you do happen to destroy some cards, we'll get boosted when you do so. You might target this. You should target this. We will now use Rapid Evolution to convert the card that has bleeding and a mark into a much higher base power card and one that can give a shield to another unit. We would have loved to have given that to, for example, our Slizzard right there. What's up, Robaxo? How are you? Okay, Istrid could potentially bail us out a little bit here. It's kind of late for this, but it means we can potentially replace some weaker cards with some stronger ones and maybe get either a Slizzard back, because we have another one in our deck, or, I mean, Detloff, but we don't have a way to consume him, so that, I mean, we can destroy him once with Cyclops, but that's about it. So, yeah. And we'll do it.
Go to hell, I ask you politely.
Let's put the shield on you. And if we happen to get another Slizzard from Istrid, then that could be worth it, saving the shield for you, but we don't know if that's going to happen definitively. So I think we just protect the engine that we do have. Or, well, hold on. We convert you. Get rid of another marked card, or one of the marked cards. Okay, don't get the deployability, but it is 4 points stronger than the 1 point cow, so it is better, and we lose the mark. So they have 1 marked unit. Which means, theoretically, 1 plus 1 is 2 damage. Ooh. Ow. Yeah, they say that's about as painful as it gets. Oh, man. Good luck. Oh, yeah. That's tough. That's tough. Do we give the shield? Do we give the shields? They will be off cooldown here. Theoretically, they don't have enough damage, but somehow they destroyed a card when they didn't have enough damage last time, or at least seemingly that was the case. So I don't know what to make of this. Was it a bug? Did I just miss something? I'm not sure. So we'll give the shield to you. like for you to stay alive long enough to use this ability as well. That's 1 damage. It's just 2 damage. It says 2. That time it appeared to be the right amount. I don't get it. I don't know what happened. I want to see it again. I will shut up now about it, but I do want to see how that transpired more precisely. We'll use Istrid here, because if we do get, we want to get one of the big cards. We, of course, accidentally mulligan Hyalmar at the beginning of this match. Hopefully that doesn't become a factor. But it would have been nice. And if we wait longer, we are not guaranteed, but we are very likely to get the cards we're looking for, but we also need to have some time to use them, is the thing. The reason why we kind of need to jump the gun a little bit here and see if we can get one now. So I think we try it. Okay, that is one of the ones we're looking for. Yep, that'll do. Get rid of Harpy Egg, get rid of Night Wraith. And granted, don't really have much in the way of Death Wish. Tell you the truth. So, eh. Oh, but we have Girdle of Giant Strength. So we could use this just to consume a big card. Get you onto higher power. And then you become the recipient of Girdle of Giant Strength. Because right now it would be a 7-point Lady of the Lake. Which is okay, but not great. So are we looking range row and potentially consume Fran Warrior once it's been boosted up a bit? Because the consumption will power up Fran Warrior. That is another thing. Yeah. So right now you're smaller than Lady of the Lake is, but I think you will become bigger eventually. I think we do go this row then. And then perhaps... this is supposed to be not a hard battle, a normal battle. Got unlucky there, so I'm tempted to convert one of these guys into a stronger card, but maybe we hold off for now. Okay, that I remember with this enemy is the trap that damages everything in a row by 2. The row that has the most units in it, so that means these cows are going to get destroyed very quickly. And technically speaking, using Germain's ability here, it's actually going to destroy the cow that we spawn in and on net score 0 points. So that doesn't really help us. Morvid, even the boost there is not enough to get the cows out of removal range. So that's not great. We could... Oh, technically we wanted to play Slizzard in the same row. We were going to use Werecat, and looking at things now, there's obviously more units in this melee row, so we'd like to play Werecat here, but we can't destroy Werecat with Slizzard if we do that. We could do it with Cyclops, I suppose. Okay, maybe we just do that. In which case, I think it is Morvid. Unless it's Werecat now and Cyclops next turn, I guess we could do that. This is definitely the row that's going to get hit with that damage. And again, we will probably deliberately not use this. On the other downside, Slizzard, unfortunately, doesn't have a marked unit to consume here. We'd kind of like that to be the case. But we're actually just going to consume the biggest card, which is Istrid. Has not yet used his, or has already used his ability, and we aren't going to draw any more cards, so he wasn't going to get any more boosts anyway. We're just trying to make this as big as possible to eventually become the Girdle Giant Strength recipients. And if things get destroyed, technically, yeah, we might have wanted to do this just to have you get boosted up even more. To be honest, I did not think of it from that perspective. But now, we can either destroy you with Cyclops, or we can Morvid. Technically, we should Morvid first, although it means 1 fewer unit getting boosted. It means we give you a Thrive boost. It means that damage from Cyclops is more powerful. So let's do this. Boost everybody by 1, and then we'll consume Morvid. Get you bigger still. Feels like being repeatedly stabbed in the inside. Yeah. Yeah. Good luck. Hopefully it's one of those things where once it's gone, it does get considerably better. Just the mental relief more than anything, maybe. Okay, we consume you. Or rather, we technically destroy you. And in doing so, we can get rid of you and damage everything in this row by 1. Boost you up. And on this occasion, I guess we're just consuming this rat, which is not a huge difference maker. But it does get you a little bit stronger and make you a little bit stronger, which is probably what we're going to consume on our last turn. And then use Girdle of Giant Strength. Okay, that's damage based on base power. Base power. So don't worry about it too much, not to mention we are about to consume you anyway. So that Rupture is not going to be a factor. So Rupture would damage you by 4. But you have a shield, so it actually won't do any damage at all. And we're going to consume you anyway. So, consumption, you're 35. Then we double the 35 to a 70. And once again, if they have more for our Heart of Terror, we lose. If they don't, we win. Probably. So, that's kind of the life we're living right now. Oh, that was big. It was not the damage everything in a row. It was the boost other units when we pass, but it's okay. It's okay, we're fine. We're fine, don't worry about it. So normal difficulty bounty hunter down. I think most of the time we've encountered that guy, he's been higher difficulty. Let's see. Options to add. This is more consumption. It's 2 charges of consumption, so it takes a turn before you can use the order, but then you can use the order twice. So you can do it both times on that next turn. So it's a little bit burstier with the consumption than the Slizzard is. It is another way to get some consumption happening. We're definitely not removing any of you. So you know what? We are probably adding you. I mean, we could add a shield to a card like the Slizzard, or other important cards like the Vrand Warrior, as we did last time. That's also an option, but I think the consumption is key. Consumption is key, and at this point, hopefully, across the double Slizzard and that Barbayazi, we have sufficient.
Must think very little of me. To send this glorified rat catcher my way. Insulting.
Oh, surprised we haven't heard that one before. So now we have the choice of either treasure chesting up here and potentially going to Elite Battle, or treasure chesting down here, and that is not an option. Although, if we do go this route, we aren't forced into it. We can still opt to go normal battle instead if we'd like. I think we do it. Let me see what this gives us. Oh, so this is exactly the consistency we were looking for. Guarantee we get double Slizzard plus Detloff Higher Vampire. That is really hard to turn down. Alternatives, upgrade the first unit you play in each battle by 2. As in increase the base power. I mean, if we got this at the very beginning, I forget what we got for our first treasure chest. But if we got this at the very beginning and we played Detloff first, regularly, then that would be huge. It's a little late for this. Destroy the highest power enemy unit, also nice, but this is probably the right answer. This is the greedy answer. And this is the actually not bad option, because it kind of gives us another potential way to succeed, where if, you know, even with our huge boosts, they somehow outscore us, or if we can't get the Super Slizzard plus Detloff action happening, then we can just get rid of their biggest card. I think we gotta go Spyglass. We have to do it. We have to do it. But now the question becomes, to Elite Battle or Normal Battle? And it seems like, generally speaking, the Elite Battles decide which one you're going, or in general, battles, whether they be Elite or Normal Battles, decide who you're going to encounter based on how far along toward the boss you are. Like in the first half, you tend to get the weaker stuff. There's like the Mountain King Elite boss, whereas the middle, that's where we encountered the failed experiments. And toward the end, don't remember. Might not have done too many Elite Battles toward the end, because in general, at that point in time, we're saying, you know, now is not the right time to be spending a bunch of energy. We should instead be focusing on saving up for the big boss. So if I had to guess, given how we're about halfway through, this would seem like it would be a failed experiment, or at least that's the elite battle I can think of mid-run that we encountered in the past. I think we go for it, especially with the spyglass that we just picked up, because then we can make sure that we get Slizzard plus Detloff. What will it be? It's the mountain dude again. Okay. So he's Thrive, some damage as well. Okay. We want to see if we can get any big cards in our starting hand here. Definitely don't want you. That's nice. Probably dump you. Okay, we get Detloff. That's very nice. This is more consistency as well. Now, Istrid is technically not as necessary now that we have the Spyglass. But we definitely want to go probably Slizzard, and then last card. Maybe Hyalmar? Maybe Barbayazi for even more consumption. I mean, we have Detloff, and some more consumption just infinitely scales. So, yeah, probably, to be honest. Oh, or Fran Warrior would have been nice as well. Probably should have gone that, to be honest. But alas, let's start with Detloff, because the nice thing with him is, if he gets immediately destroyed, he comes back stronger. That's fine. If he gets locked, that is the way that he can be shut down. Okay, they have damage. Fine. Well, I mean, sort of. We'd rather you not destroy Slizzard. That'd be nice if you didn't do that. But, technically, if we go Istrid next, we know we're gonna get boosts on the next Slizzard we draw, on the Barbayazi as well. So some of our key cards get a little bit stronger. It does slow down the Slizzard consumption. Tell you, I think we do this still. And what we do is, because we know Black Brayla is going to deal 2 damage, because she's currently inspired, and we don't like that. Let's go, especially since this is an elite battle, we'll spend some energy. We'll dump you down to a 3, which means now you're only dealing 1 damage. So it makes this a little bit safer. We need you to survive 1 turn, and I love that you're going after Detloff rather than this. Don't care about the Nekker. That's fine. So now we can get the other Slizzard out, and we can look to do the combo we did previously. Consume Detloff, get him back out. He's 1 point stronger. This Slizzard is now much harder to destroy, and this one remains a little bit vulnerable. But since we at least have 1 Slizzard that should be safely out of removal range, that's not as much of a threat. Now, I don't like that you're going after this, though. Don't like that you're going after this, especially because you have more damage here. But good thing you're targeting this instead. Okay. So now, I think we go Istrid. So the earlier we play him, the better. Might as well play him in this row. I mean, there's no reason why we'd ever consume him when Detloff exists in this row. So I guess we can play you here.
Break something and I'll break something too. I'll break you.
And you know how this goes now. You know how it goes. We'd like to get the Barbayazi down here quickly as well, so we can continue to scale this. Trade and play a unit. No! Okay, well this is the most dangerous card for us. Most dangerous card against us. However, the fact that they played it here is nice. We want them to play that early, not play that at the end. If we have 2 highly boosted Slizzards and 1 high base power Detloff, then we should still hopefully be Morkvarg proof. But that is a scary sight to behold, nonetheless. Now, I mean, yes, we want to try to increase the power on Detloff, true, but also the further we play Jermaine, the more powerful he becomes. We might do this. And also, they have decided they want to target Istrid at least a little bit here. He's on 2 power, which makes him a little bit vulnerable. We'd like to use his ability to swap out at least this Harpy Egg, so we might use this now. And I love the Brand Warrior. And Hyalmar. Ooh. So if we dump you... what's the next card we get rid of? It might be Cyclops. Yes, this is a lot of... well, I mean, the damage is nice. I mean, you guys are similar. Damage versus boost. We have a lot of boosts. I think we'll keep... Let's keep some ways to destroy some of our opponent's cards. Because I do remember this opponent does have some nasty guys. Like you. When you trigger this Thrive, damage a random enemy by 3. I mean, that is a lot, but it's not going to be enough to disrupt this combo at all. It's not a huge concern. Yeah, they just have tons and tons of Thrive, which does scale a lot over time, for what it's worth. So, there's something to be said for shutting down some of these guys early. We could destroy Black Rayla with a Thunder on this turn, which we might decide to do. But let us, Brand Warrior, put you on this row, so we don't have everything big on the same row. Consume, and in this case I am deliberately trying to make you much bigger than this one, because this will be the recipient of the Girdle Giant Strength. And let's, I mean, it is in Elite Battle, right? Should spend some energy. Technically we could have put you here and have you also be a target of Scissor consumption, but you're never going to be better than the Detloff consumption anyway. Remember, and don't remember you. Whenever a boosted ally is played, boost your lowest powered ally by its current amount of boost. I think we want to destroy you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards. We have 11 damage, which is enough to destroy you with Hyalmar. Or we can go Cyclops, which is also enough to destroy you. I think we will still see at least one other card that we'd like to destroy. Let's go... Let's do Cyclops, actually. Because that gives us one more way to destroy Detloff. Power up everyone else. A little more quickly. Like so. Okay, Triss. Boost random unit in your hand by 4. Just makes it more likely for them to trigger that Thrive. But now, if we go Barbigazi, we want to make sure we have time to make this happen. Okay, Sheldon, damaged by the amount of boosts. He does have a lot of boosts. But fortunately, we had enough additional power on these lizards that it's not really an issue. And at this point, we're looking at Hyalmar, which can give us a big chunk of damage, and we could do that to, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 points out of 14 from Hyalmar himself. Not quite enough to remove the Ogre Warrior unless we also combine that with the Thunder. We're just looking for pure damage. We can hit the Sheldon. I'm not sure we need to go with the Thunder. We could probably just go for the straightforward damage here. Probably sufficient. Then we do this. And we do it again. Gets you pretty big. So again, the more we can split our boosts across different units, the safer we are from things like that that Morkvarg that we saw them play previously. Okay, Giant Kidnapper does steal one of our big cards, right? Fortunately, our important cards here are so highly boosted that that is not capable of causing too much of a threat. Oh no, 99! Not quite. Not quite. But we'll take it. Think we're doing okay here, even with, if they get a Morkvarg, we lose basically 200 points. But we have more than a 200 point lead, so we should be fine. It's Torque, so we're fine. So there you have it. The combo is incredibly powerful. We have the consistency to pull it off every match now. it is largely just a matter of do people have combos, or rather do they have counters, and we can either get a treasure, get damage that increases over time, or we can improve the effectiveness of this combo, which is, again, technically overkill. As we just saw, even against elite enemies, we can win by 300 points. So I'm not really sure that it matters too much. But, yeah. Actually, one thing that's coming to mind is the boss enemy can force us into discarding cards. I think it's usually the rightmost card in our hand, which means the card that we draw into most recently. So if we use the Magnifying Spyglass to guarantee that we draw into either Detloff or a Slizzard, and that's the card that would get destroyed. And we can get it back if we can destroy some of their cards, which we could do with Alzur's Thunder. But that's really our only, well, not our only way of getting damage, but with Hyalmar we can make that happen. Just want to make sure that that doesn't shut us down when, as much as I really want this to happen, to see, can we get 500 points? Erendite technically might be a way to make up for that weakness. Specifically against this boss. Against any other big boss, I would say maybe you continue to pour on the greed, because I want to see how big this could get. But might technically, if I'm being a buzzkill, a party pooper, technically speaking, Erendite is better. Because rather than winning by more points, we win more often. I know. I really wanted to power up Detloff as well. But, I mean, that was an elite battle. We used basically no energy. And we won by about 300 points. So that's saying something. That right there is saying something. But with that being said, I think, as I was saying earlier, I had recorded a whole bunch of Rogue Mage earlier today, so this is like my 5th or 6th hour of recording Rogue Mage today. I've been talking a lot, and although my voice has gotten better to the point where I can speak, still a little bit strained right now and still on the mend, so don't want to push things too hard here, and therefore that otherwise we risk, losing my voice for 2 weeks again, because that is exactly how I lost it initially. So, rather not do that. So, as excited as I am to press onward here and see how many points we can get with this Detloff combo, and to see if we can take on this boss, I think this is the right place for us to wrap up. And certainly some big highlights with this deck. I was skeptical at first because although I could tell we had some useful components, we just didn't quite have enough pieces to synergize with what we were trying to do. And then once we upgraded Detloff once and got another Slizzard, the world was our oyster, as we just saw, and it is a lot of fun when we pull that off. Although now I'm just imagining, we've seen some Morkvarg Heart of Terror plays. We just saw one against us. Fortunately, it was not the last play of the match, and we do technically still have multiple cards that are getting boosted as long as we have a second Slizzard out there, and we have maybe a Grand Warrior as well. So it doesn't automatically mean that we lose if they use Morkvarg Heart of Terror on their last turn to damage our most highly boosted card, but it does certainly still make me very, very nervous. So we will see if that comes back to bite us on a later occasion. But thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and I'll catch you next time.